Hey, how's it going? My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT, and we're back with another live stream, another episode of Electron Talk. I used to keep track of how many episodes there was, but now there's just so many. I wish I knew. It's something like 70. Today we're going to be talking about how many patterns makes up a song. This is a topic that's come up a few times on these live streams. It's something that I keep wanting to revisit because it keeps changing. Like, it keeps changing for me. Like, what is it? It changes based on me seeing more live performers and how they do their workflow. It's changing based on how comfortable I get with the machines I'm using or different methods that I learn throughout my music production. And so today I want to revisit it again. I want to talk to some folks in the chat, hopefully, and get their idea on what they think makes a song in a live hardware experience. How many patterns people typically use to complete a song, what is considered a complete song, do you revisit your songs? I mean, I have so much to say about this. And I also want to talk about this new resampling method that I came up with last night right before I fell asleep. And it has to do with the Ocatatrack and Digitakt II, and in this case, a Syntakt, which is acting as a summing box for some external gear. It's actually a really cool method, and I'm excited to share that with you during this live stream because I think it's going to be really useful for my upcoming music production that I'm working on. So it's going to be a new element for how I make my music, or how I take a song and morph it into a new part of a song, so to speak. So we're going to talk about that quite a bit. I do want to mention today's stream is sponsored by DistroKid. DistroKid is a music distribution service that makes it really easy for you to get your music out to all the streaming platforms. It's extremely affordable. It's the only service I've ever used. I probably will never switch. So I highly recommend it. There's a link in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. So let's take a look at the machines. Here we go. We're looking at an Ocatatrack, a Digitakt II, and the Syntakt. As per usual, my devices that I have on the table hasn't really changed. I'm not sick of this combo yet. I keep a 303 over here. I mean, not a real 303, a TB03, but it does just a good enough job. I do have a replica underneath the desk, which I haven't been using because, God, I don't have a good answer for that. I need to use it more. It sounds better, in my opinion, the replica I have. It's an analog replica. It's the TT303. Anyhow, I also use this Impact GX Mini, which is running into a MIDI USB host, and it's sending MIDI out through the auto channels, two different auto channels, channel 15, channel 16, so that I control the synthesizers on both of these boxes with a MIDI controller. It's extremely convenient and very helpful. This controller itself doesn't have any like extra features in it that make it really great for controlling these boxes. It's literally just giving me velocity and a natural keyboard, something that I'm familiar with. My hand just immediately makes major triads and minor triads very, very quickly. Not that I can even use those here, so whatever. I can, however, assign this to go into my Octatrack and then use the arpeggiator and then use major and minor triads. So somehow I've completely fallen off the path of the topic. All right, so why this is coming up is because I've got some shows coming up at the end of the month. Playing 3 shows at the end of the month. I keep saying I'm going to play less shows, but it just keeps popping up. I do love to play shows. I'm always excited after I play them, a little bit less excited before I play them. There's always this nervous energy that I always wish I could burn off somehow. I don't know how to get rid of it. It just exists. I can't beat it. It's always there before I play shows. And now I have 3 of them coming up, all within a week span at the end of the month, which is kind of nice to be able to just bam, 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 and just kind of like knock them out. So, but because of that, I just wanted to revisit some of my music, write some new music, and that's where this topic came up. I've been going back into my tracks pretty often and just kind of like, doing finishing touches on my tracks, adding another pattern here or there, another breakdown, throwing in some new samples, maybe completely reworking a bass line, all sorts of stuff. The song that I'm going to show you here in a second, just as a demonstration, and we're probably going to do the resampling method right here, and we'll talk about that and how like maybe I'm trying to expand this song to be a little bit longer, maybe have more patterns to it. I've reworked so many times. I started this song on stream with you folks, maybe some of you, and I really like it. It has this like very EZBOT vibe. I think it fits the stuff that I naturally make. melodic and full of energy, and there's a natural progression through the song. So the song starts off with a mellow beat, and it's slowly growing in energy throughout the patterns. And then I get to a crescendo where the song completely changes into like more of an EDM song. And then it has a breakdown in the EDM part, and then it has a climax, which is the very end of the song. And this is a workflow that I've been doing for years. This is kind of like a natural progression for me in electronic music. And honestly, it's a pretty natural progression for me as a rock musician as well. I really do like songs that have like huge crescendos at the end of the song, like where, you know, there's a verse, chorus, verse, bridge aspect, and then there's like the ultra chorus. You know what I mean? And I kind of like do the ultra chorus vibe in the Electron workflow as well. So I kind of want to show that off. This song is something you may have heard, but you've definitely not heard how it sounds now because I've completely changed it up. So let's check it out. I'm not going to play the whole song. I'm just going to kind of jump through these patterns really quick so you can hear what's going on in the pattern. So when the song starts, this is how the song will start. Maybe it won't have the clap in there or not. And I bring these elements in. Let's get our mutes up. You know, I start to bring these elements. I would bring that in with the bass line. And then this moves on to pattern 2, which has got a bit more energy to it. You know, it's got a little bit of faster beat. The hats are moving a little bit quicker. There's a little bit more going on. It's pretty obvious. We jumped over here really quickly. This isn't how it would actually go. The song's about 7 minutes long, I think, at this point. 6 or 7 minutes long. It's got a vocal line in it. It's got this little breakdown element that I like take the drums out. I bring this piano thing, kind of like a go with the flow, Queens of the Stone Age vibe. Which I think is kind of fun. I could do without it sometimes, I think. It's got this drum breakdown that I switch the vocals out with the drums when it comes in. I love this little drum breakdown here. You can see it's the Euclidean sequencer from the Digitakt II doing some stuff. We got a bunch of the effects being used here. Bit reduction, sample rate reduction, delay, reverb. No filtering. Not important, honestly. Then it moves on to this next pattern, which has got even more energy and more melody, which is the stuff I really like. Really big stereo. Feels very much like the kind of music I was making a lot when I first started working with Electron stuff. And I'm very happy to like make my way back there after learning so many other genres that were so new to me as I was getting familiar with electronic music. And now they're not as new to me, and I've kind of taken the bits and pieces from the genres that really speak to me and just brought them back to home base. So this would be the crescendo pattern of the first part of the tunes. Maybe my voice is too loud. I'll turn it down a little bit. So this pattern builds up into the EDM aspect of this. But it's the same song, but it sounds completely different than it did at the last show I played because I've reworked the song entirely. What's the next pattern here? And mind you, these are those songs at their crescendo points. Like, they don't have much to bring in because they're fully explored. This isn't the very end of it. This is like the anticipation pattern before we go to the crescendo, and then we'll start talking about resampling. That's it. Those are the 6 elements of this song. Intro pattern, very chill vibe. Started with an electric guitar, actually, sampled into Digitakt II. An emphasis on percussion, a little bit more energy. Some intricate melodic elements, really emphasizing that we're moving towards something more more melodic. High energy. We stay with the high energy, break it down slightly, create some anticipation. Something with a different rhythm. Kick pattern changes. Crescendo. Okay, so this is one of my songs. This is a song that I play at live shows. In fact, this is the opener track for my live shows. It's been the opener track for a couple of months now. It sounded different at the live show. I liked how it sounded at the last show, but I like this so much more. And this brings up our main discussion. What is a song in live hardware? There's so many different ways to play a song in live hardware. Some people only use a singular pattern. Some people have, fill an entire bank with patterns. There's so many different methods for this. Some people use song mode, maybe on their Ocatatrack, maybe on their Digitakt, Syntakt, M8 or something like that. There's an islands workflow, which is something that we're actually kind of doing right now. This is a discussion I was having with somebody I was doing private lessons with yesterday, because there are many different ways to approach this. So like on something like the M8, for instance, you just snag it really quick. So on the M8, you can see these rows. So like, as imagine this is row 1 that's playing right now on the M8, right? This would be row 2. This naturally progresses on its own, and you kind of just play along with it as it's playing. However, you can have another approach where you keep things in islands. So if I go like this, I can disconnect a row, right? When it's disconnected in this row, it works like Electron. It's just going to circle itself over and over again. It's just going to loop that row. This lets you decide, when do I move to the next part of the song? That's the natural progression in the Electron workflow, right? The natural progression is we write a pattern, we mute, we unmute, we maybe play with performance effects on our Octatracks or whatever devices you're using, in my case, Ocatatrack. We open filter cutoffs, we adjust waveforms, we maybe even play with our patterns and adjust the position of some of the triggers on our step sequencer. This is all stuff that we can do live. We can also, go into perform mode on our Digitakt IIs and mess with the hi-hats, open the decay of our hi-hats, bring some energy out, stuff like that. Pretty basic stuff. I mean, this is just the natural stuff that you would seem kind of obvious to you to do as you're performing live, because what else are you going to do? So living in that island aspect of things, it revolves around, and you have to think, okay, it's been 4 bars, it's been 8 bars, it's been 16 bars. I need to do something. I need to get to a new pattern. There's, this is getting stale. Maybe there's a really strong melodic element in your pattern and it's been cycling over and over again. And like, oh my God, people are very, very used to these repetitive notes. Like they've memorized it the first time they heard it. And so you're really feeling this anticipation to move to a new part of the song, you know that the audience is feeling it too. Not as bad as you are, that's for sure. You're definitely the one who's like really, really having some anxiety about moving to the next part of the song, whereas the audience is maybe just getting a little bored. You're having anxiety about it. So when do you move to the next part of the song? Well, you definitely, it's something you learn, you feel it. Or do you not move to the next part of the song, sit in your island and just unmute a part of your pattern and bring in a new element that maybe you had paired up with the song? So a workflow that I have dabbled in and not exactly ironed out or like made a part of my natural progression in my music production is to actually maybe use this as a mirror. Like with the Digitakt II is a really great way to do this. It's harder to do it on boxes that don't have, you know, as many track options as the Digitakt II does, but you can do it with any of the boxes. You just, you know, you're gonna have to decide this. Essentially, what happens is like this, whenever these tracks are playing, these tracks are not playing. So basically you unmute two at a time. They're just, it would be set up like this and like this. And what you would do is you'd go, all right, it's time for this and time for this. And it would just switch the two out. And then you could sit on one pattern for twice as long and do a lot more improvisation. In fact, you can kind of play this mix and match game with your own patterns, within your patterns. I think that's a really fun workflow. And it's not something I've explored too much, to be honest. I know it in theory that it works. I have tested it in theory, and I think it's great. I just haven't done it enough for it to be like the thing that I do when I'm performing or when I'm writing my music. But in theory, it's a great idea. You can do it on your Syntakt. You can do it on your Digitakt. You can do it on the Analog 4, Analog Rhythm. All those boxes absolutely lend themselves to a workflow like that. So that's sitting on one pattern. Maybe you can get some more juice out of a pattern that way. But what even is a song in electronic music, right? For a techno artist who's doing improv, a song is just time. How long is a song? Well, it can be as long as you want it to be, right? I'm improvising. How do you even determine what a song is? When someone says, can we listen back to your set and you're playing live improv techno, what are they listening back to? They're not listening back to a song. I mean, they are, I guess, right? That's the question I don't know the answer to. They're listening back to a performance. That's different. I feel like that's different. So when I'm doing this, I'm writing a song. This is a song. To me, this is a song. I'm progressing through a song. I have an ending. I have a beginning. I have an intro. I have a breakdown. I have an outro. Like, it's all happening. I have a method to the madness. I'm using certain effects in my performance template to boost my energy up to get me to the next level or to bring the energy down to get to that level. But what do you do? Like, what do we actually consider a song? How many patterns do you use to make a song? I know that there was a few times that I've played with, I reference this often because it's a good point. I've played some music with Jeremy Blake, and Jeremy's so good at music production. Like, Red Beans Recording is awesome. There's a reason why he has so many subscribers on his YouTube channel and why people love his music. He's a really great artist. And I've played a couple shows with him live, which has been really cool because he's local here in Seattle. And I've asked him many times because I want to know, I really want to know. When people are really good, I want to know, what are they doing? I'm not afraid to ask. I'm not embarrassed to admit that I don't know everything. I want to know, what are you doing? And so I asked Jeremy, I was like, how many patterns is that song that you just played that was so good? One pattern. I'm like, what is going on here? How are you doing that? So the answer to that question for him in that case, from what I understood, was lots of trigger conditions in his Electron boxes. So basically it's this pattern that is being unmuted, muted, and improvised on, and then trig conditions are happening a lot, all the time. So many, many trig conditions in the sets. This is something I have played with as well. So I ventured down this. These shows I'm talking about, they're like a year or two ago. So it's been a while since I asked that question. I have taken that data and I've put it into my own music production workflow. Lots of trig conditions. That's a great idea. I think we should all take advantage of it, right? You know, it's borderline obvious because we have it, but do we use it all the time? We use it when we think of using it. But what if your intention is to go into your patterns and say, I don't know what to do with these trigger conditions. I'm going to start experimenting with them. I'm going to put them all over the place. I'm just going to add a trig condition here, a trig condition here. This is 1 of 2. This is 2 of 2. This doesn't play. When this does play, this pattern has last or last not play. And as soon as I go to the next pattern, all these elements drop out and it creates some anticipation. These are the kind of things that you can do on these boxes. And they help you create a song out of a pattern. So if you could actually take some of that know-how with all these trigger conditions, all these options you have from a singular pattern, and then you expand upon that with multiple patterns, you can actually have some really, really cool, intricate music. And I know so many artists who do this, and I play with live hardware electronic artists, and honestly, by far the most popular devices you'll see at any live hardware shows are right in front of you right now. You're going to see a Digitakt, you're going to see an Ocatatrack, you're going to see a Syntakt, you're going to see a 303. I am not unique at all in this regard. These are popular for a reason. They're sick. They do a really great job. So I'm again going through my music, trying to decide, do I want to make a song longer? Do I want it to be less patterns but use more conditions? But what I've ultimately come down to, and this is just for me, for my personal workflow, is I'm expanding my songs out to have more patterns. I want more variation, more complex variations. This one song right here, like, I've been writing this song why do I hear the piano? I've been writing this song forever. Somehow there's 2 of those samples on 2 different tracks. Some weird stuff been happening with my Digitakt II. I still think there's some bugs to iron out, or maybe it's mine. But I've been kind of going through this experience where I'm like, I really want these songs to be longer, and I want them to be just like really, really fleshed out. And for me, it takes me a long time to write a song that I really like, that I'm proud of, And I feel like after a while, having these variations, the stereo width, that kind of stuff, having it feel really big, it's really important to me. So I'm going through and I'm expanding patterns, and one of the processes here, it's actually quite a frustrating process. Like, say you're already filled up your bank, right? We got 16, I'm using the Ocatatrack as a reference here. We got 16 patterns in our banks, okay? So this song takes up 6 patterns so far, and we're gonna maybe expand it to 1 more pattern. Let's get this junk out of here. We have these remaining, but I already had a song on 7. I had a song that goes 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And I had a song on 13, 14, and 15 that I had started writing. I didn't really care for... I care for both of these songs less. This last one that was on 13, 14, I really don't care about it that much. But I had 2 pattern slots available, but I want these 2 pattern slots over here, next to the end of this song, so I can have this song go out, because this is a song that I for sure will be playing in sets for, maybe years to come, possibly. That's how I like to play. I like to have the same songs be played at this in the same sets. Like, I'll mix and match the songs in the sets, but I want to have fleshed out good songs available for me at all times in case I want to play a show. So what I had to do was copy a pattern here. I have to start from the back. Copy pattern, paste, 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 until those slots were empty, and now they are empty. So we're able to do our method, our new resampling method that I want to talk about. Before we jump into the new resampling method, I know... Dude, is my YouTube just like shelling out like ad after ad after ad after ad? I swear to God, it's told me that an ad is coming up every minute. It's insane. Not that I don't need it, because I do. I want you want ad revenue if you have ads enabled, but like, come on, that's a bit much. Okay, anyway. Let's talk about this resampling method. This is what is interesting. Oh yeah, I do. No, let me check up with the chat. Let me do this really quick, because of this resampling method, I'm going to dive into it, and it's going to be a dive for sure. So let's say what's up. I want to hear what people were saying about how many patterns they had in music. Is just patterns, isn't it? Says Seek. I agree. Music is just patterns, but a song is a culmination of those patterns. A song is an idea. It's a structure. Don't you think? That's what I think a song is. I think a song has structure. That's why they teach song structure in college. You know, if I went back to, I went to music school. I did graduate from college and I did go to school for music. And if I was to talk to like the songwriting instructor, who has like Grammys and stuff, they would tell me that there's a structure, that there's a correct way to do it. I mean, there's a correct way to write a specific type of music, right? Not to write electronic music, but they would say that there is a structure to a song. And so that's what I want to differentiate. Like, what is a song versus what the hell we do? We do something else. We write our music on the fly. We have programmed machines. They have percentage chances of whether samples actually play or synthesizers do what they do. It's unique. It's not anything like what they even can talk to you about in school. There is no one teaching this in college right now. There's just us. Just us, my friends. Us on YouTube. Nobody is teaching this. We are pioneering it. We are at the forefront of it. We're leading the way right now. Not me, but us as a community. We're the ones doing this right now. So we have to ask these questions and we have to decide the answers to the questions. And a lot of times there is no answer, right? There's no right answer to so many of these questions. I don't want there to be a right answer, honestly. I just want it to be an idea that we kind of all maybe agree on now and then so that we can move forward and do something useful. As in finish some music. But yeah, so let me see what other people are saying with their patterns. Only 8 likes, come on crew. Oh, what's up, Dean? Thank you so much. People are very hesitant to share their likes. You know, you don't want to click that too hard. All right, so Blake has something really good here. Who's messaging? Oh, can't take that phone call right now. Blake has an answer. Let's check it out. Blake says that they use all 16 patterns, but one pattern is only slightly different from the previous sometimes. Okay, so this is a really, really interesting thing right here that Blake just mentioned. This is extremely interesting to me. This comes up all the time in my head for me. I don't want to do that, Blake. I don't want to do that. I don't want to copy and paste another pattern that only has one different element from the previous pattern, because I feel like I could, you know, get more leverage out of changing more elements or something. And I don't mean like what you're saying is wrong. That's not at all what I'm implying, because I know a ton of artists. In fact, most, I would say, artists that are using like Electron boxes and they're moving through a set of like, say, 16 patterns. Most of the patterns don't have that much different going on from the previous pattern. They're kind of using it as song mode. Like they know that after 8 bars, go to the next pattern. After 8 bars, go to the next pattern. And that's cool. And that totally works. For me, I want to dive deeper into each pattern and tweak each pattern. I want to have more elements that I can mute and unmute. This is where stuff like resampling can really help you, because you could just resample stuff from the previous phrase. If you want to have that huge layer that you had from phrase or pattern 1 on pattern 2, resample that. You know, maybe take the drums out, resample all the other elements, put that into a track, have that loop, and then you can add elements on top of that in pattern 2, but you can add way more elements, and you can chop up the resample. I don't know. Again, there's no right way to do it or anything like that. This is just what goes through my head when I see that happening. I want to do more than just have my next pattern have, you know, one element changed from the previous pattern. Not that it matters, to be honest, because it doesn't. It's just a preference thing. So I love it. If you guys don't know, Blake is my homie, and he's great, and he's incredibly helpful when it comes to Modbang. In fact, he designed these magnets that you can get now. These are drag erase magnets, and he designed the template magnet. So that's Blake in the chat right here. Blake is awesome. We love Blake. Going back over here. Share the love. Yes. I take the time and usually do around 16 patterns per song. I believe that to be true as well. Dean from Electrona Sounds is here in the chat, and Dean is fantastic. If you guys are not a part of Dean's Patreon, you should join Dean's Patreon and check out Dean's YouTube channel, because Dean has the most useful sample packs and the most sample packs offered on a Patreon for Electron boxes and trackers alike. There is no other Patreon I have been a part of, and I'm a part of over 20 Patreons paying. I pay to 20 other Patreons. Dean's is probably the one that I download the most stuff from. I actually download stuff from Dean's Patreon. So big shout out to Dean. Really great work. Excellent sound designer. Does some really cool music. Minimal techno is almost anti-structure, almost too predictable. I love this. Okay, this is a really cool topic. Minimal techno is my favorite kind of techno. I recently dove into some like rumble techno. Rumble techno actually, despite its name rumble kind of implying a lack of minimalism, more maximalism, right? Not so much, I don't think. I think rumble techno is very minimalist, and that's partly because the rumble takes up most of the frequencies in your structure of your song or patterns. It just takes up so much of the low end, and so much of the song is based around that rumble that it kind of falls into minimal. But on the point of like minimal is like anti-structure, this is exactly what I mean by what exactly is a song anyway in hardware electronic music. You can go the EDM route, absolutely has structure. And that's kind of the route I go. I'm kind of inspired by the old EDM, 90s EDM tracks, and French house. I'd say like those two genres are like what I really try to merge the most. Or you can go like the minimal techno route, which is something that takes a massive amount of practice. You have to know so many rhythms. You have to know so many little tricks on like what's going to sound good when you take this element out and bring this element in. And then it's really a game, a balancing game of how long can you play for before you're like, I'm just bored with the elements that I'm using to make this song. Not necessarily the audience or anything. You are bored. You're like, I'm sick of doing this. I want to go on to have a new set of sounds to play with. And I feel like that's where like minimal lies in. Minimal is very intentional, I think, in the songwriting, but it only needs to be one or two patterns for it to be a fully fleshed out song. And we're saying song as in the structure was, here's the structure of unstructured songs in my mind. We have our intro, which is usually just us introducing our vibe, right? The intro is introducing the vibe of our song. We have kind of like what would be considered a verse. The verse is really just, we've brought in the main elements of our rhythm section, and now we have a groove. So intro is introducing our elements, and the verse is introducing the groove. So they're different things, but I'm trying to make an analogy or a metaphor here. Analogy. And then we have our chorus, which would be kind of like our build-up. That would be something that the high energy point of our song. Maybe we only have one chorus. Maybe it only builds up one time. In techno, it often breaks and builds and breaks and builds and breaks and builds several times over, just like, a good rock song does. Techno kind of can follow that structure as well. Sometimes I've noticed at live shows with other performers. And then we have our bridge, which would be a breakdown. And so I feel like we do have those elements. So those songwriting elements do exist in electronic music, but they have a different name. Bridge isn't bridge. Bridge is a breakdown. Chorus isn't a chorus. Chorus is like our riser, like our, I don't know what it is. A chorus is our high energy point in our song, but it's not really a chorus because it's not chorusing. Like chorus has they call it a chorus for a reason, because it's like a repeating concept that we're listening to over and over. It's like getting the point across. I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love. We're not doing that with like techno stuff, or a lot of other hardware electronic music. There's just so much to think about in this regard, and there's so many different ways to approach designing a song on hardware that I'm often at a loss of what to do next, because these options are seemingly endless. And I avoid scope creep as much as possible. That's why I got off the computer. Originally, I was writing electronic music in Bitwig, and I was like, I can't stop there's so many presets, there's so many devices, there's so many workflows. I was like, I can't handle this, it's overwhelming me. So I left that workflow and I joined the Electron Psycho team, which is where I've been ever since. sponsor me. Sparkling water, whoever you are. We'll never tell. Oh, is there like some sort of conversation going on here? It's got people heated up a little bit. Should we take a look? Or usually it's best if I don't. I don't know. Well, let's ignore it for now, so we don't get stuck. I don't want to get stuck in any drama. All right, I want to talk about this resample technique. We've been talking about what is a song, songwriting, patterns, that kind of stuff. You know what I do. You know, this song is 6 patterns long. Most of my songs that I like a lot. Let's go to another pattern. Some really weird stuff happened here. I've got to stay up to sleep. You got nothing, nothing goes to waste. Bank 2, pattern 1. That is not right. Is it moving my banks? Bank 2. Hold on here. Is it because I'm in perform kit mode? It is because I was in perform kit mode. Holy Lord. That freaked me out for a second. I was like, oh my God, why are these samples staying the same? There we go. Okay. Did you hear that? That feedback? This has to do with our resampling method. Okay, so check this out. This is the cool resampling method. The reason why we're hearing the feedback is because I haven't made the adjustments yet. You have to do this on every pattern because it has to do with the internal mixer. So what we have going on is, this is my newest performance template on the Ocatatrack. This is the Remixer 3.0 template. It's based off of my Performance Mixer 3.0 template. The big difference here, as you can see, like I still have tracks 3 and 7 queued, which is the same from the old templates, but they're queued for a different reason. They're queued because I'm sending my entire mix back out at Unity through my queue outputs back into the Digitakt. So this entire mix is being fed back into the Digitakt at all times. The Digitakt's being fed back into the Digitakt, the Ocatatrack's being fed back into the Digitakt, and the Syntakt is. And not only that, we have, you know, I don't know why I can't hear it. Wait. Oh yeah. Yeah, we're getting our nice feedback here. You know, we have an electric guitar here. Also being fed into my Syntakt, but actually running into my Digitakt. So, very cool, right? Everything going into Syntakt, but that's actually making its way into the Digitakt. And this is a very strange process here. So why I set this up this way, and this all can be done very simply. Obviously, there's a lot of cables being plugged in, but this all can be done very simply. What I'm doing is I have Digitakt going into A and B, Syntakt going into C and D, Q outputs going back into left and right of the Digitakt. Input left and right is turned off entirely, so it's muted, right? So if I turn this up, we start getting feedback. Ugh, we don't want the feedback. So we have the stereo input brought all the way down. Make sure your track is set to dual mono off so that it comes in stereo. And that's really it. So now, check this out. I can resample this. Let's arm it. Oh, no. Wait a second. Let's go 128 steps, input left and right. Post-mix, if you do pre-mix, you get your feedback. And then we arm it, and we hit play. All right, check this out. It sounds perfect. It's a perfect resample of the entire mix. I could resample this too, like. I mean, I could resample all the performance effects that I've built in this template into this as well, affecting these both sides of these, or both of these machines independently, and have that all be on one simple resample. This is sick. Stereo sampling on Digitakt II, and it's quantized to 8 bars, which is what I write in. Very exciting stuff. So this is what got me really stoked. I was like, oh shit, this is what I like to do on my M8. I like writing these patterns and I resample them and then I chop them in the sampler just to a quantized chop, which I can do on the Digitakt. So now I was like, oh, my workflow from the M8, I've now brought it over to my Electron workflow. And I am quite pleased with it. So you could hear that it was a little quieter. There's a reason for that. And we discovered this in the last stream. Actually, it was at the stream that Ricky came in on, and I was asking Ricky Tines if he knew the answer to this. And we figured it out during that stream. So if I save this, I might want to do it on a different pattern. I didn't plan on resampling this, but it could be cool. Let's go back to the original one. So we could resample something like that, but I thought about resampling this. I thought this would sound cool. It would kind of be like this. You know, that vibe where I can have the beginning start the same over and over again, and then I don't know. What do y'all think? Should we resample here? I'm going to show you how to avoid the volume drop, Dean. The answer is your volume. So unity gain on Digitakt II apparently is track level 100%, so track level 127, and amp level 127, and that will bring it up to unity. So that's how it will sound the same. I didn't, doesn't make sense entirely to me compared to the Ocatatrack's resampling workflow because it has a different way to keep things at unity. It's volume 0 because it has a negative 63 volume. We don't have an inversion of the volumes on the Digitakt, so it actually kind of makes sense that unity is just 127 because over here we have a positive negative bipolar attenuator for our amplitude on the Octatrack. We don't have bipolar amplifiers over here. We just have a volume pot. So yeah, we can actually do it right now. All right, we're gonna resample this one because I already have it set up to do it. So we go in here and make sure we don't trigger it. Oops, 128 threshold arm. I guess one of the questions is though, do I want to resample it with the drums and then add the drums? We could try both. There's, plenty of 20 gigs in the Digitakt II, so we can do both. Let's try it with the drums first and see how that sounds. Could you do this live, you're asking, Blake? I wouldn't. No, this is not a procedure for doing it in a live show. Can you do it live? Yes, you can. Like, are you going to have a good time doing that? Probably not. I think it would give you an anxiety attack on stage to do this. Maybe not an anxiety attack, but you'd be like really in the throes of writing a song while you're playing a show. It wouldn't be a good look. All right, so what do we want to call this? Like, what did I name this? Oh, the song's called Stay Up. Right. Stay Up resample. I about had a panic attack earlier. I thought me copying patterns had like destroyed one of my songs. It's a bigger file. Stereo, 8 bars long. Do I want to put it on a track? No, I don't. Get out of here. All right, so we're gonna go to this blank pattern. We're gonna throw down. We'll copy this pattern, and copy this pattern. And we'll go to 7 and paste it. But I'm going to now delete all the triggers. So clear it. Okay, now I'm gonna go to track 16. This is where I'm gonna put my resample for this pattern. Go yes. And it's in recording. Did I just go over it? No. Recorded. And this was called Stay Up Resample. I should maybe have started with Resample because that's what I called everything else. Stay Resample. Cool. All right. Make sure this is turned off. This is turned off. Oh, I have some weird filtering going on. Okay, all sorts of stuff going on. Modulation everywhere. Velocity turned all the way down. Just put it at the right spot. All right, let's check for unity. You ready? We're doing the unity check. We're gonna put this trigger down here. We want the trig to play for 128 steps. I'm in the retrig menu. 128 steps. And that's it. That's all we need to do. That's gonna be just fine. All right, here we go. This is the unity check, everybody. All right, here's the song. I would say it's a unity, right? Unity check, a success. The only thing that I think is a little bit different is that the reverb and the delay, I don't know. The reverb and the delay sound bigger in the not resampled, yeah, in the live version. But I'd say like, they're totally unity in terms of their volume. So yeah, we're good on our resample. It works, right? So here we go. Now what we can do is go into the grid mode, and now we can play with this. We want, I don't know, how many do we want? Probably 16. Let's just play with this pattern for a second, just on one bar. Oh my god, so this just opens up so much. Like, we have the Syntakt in the Digitakt right now. We have the drums already there, and this sounds awesome. Make it a little bit longer. How we have like a tape stop here? Okay, so now we have all these tracks opened up. We have this like drop that we can do. cool to like, you know, make it based, like try and find like a good bass pattern from the existing bass pattern and make a new, you know, pattern that way. Oh, that's a nice one. That actually would be really cool. What if it went like this? Maybe these hats need to go away then. Yeah, that is kind of cool right there. That's kind of cool. The comb filter on Digitakt II is a lot of fun. I don't know what I would do with that. I don't know if I would actually use that. Maybe during a show, that'd be like a fun thing to tweak, to have be like a performance effect on here. I think it could totally work as a performance effect. Peace out, a-hoes. What's going on with Vingle? There's always somebody who's getting a little spicy in the chat. It's the internet. What are you gonna do? What are we gonna do? Later, Vingle. Later, Vingle. Stereo versus mono is in like night and day difference. Big changes since the Beatles. Yeah, for real. Have fun with your fake stereo Beatles mixes? Matt, you're going to accidentally put the OT out of business? How am I going to do that? I hope not. Dig your channel. Curious as to what you prefer, the Syntakt or the Analog 4. I think there's a real easy answer to that. Syntakt. Yeah. TT Mark 3 will go back to mono. I would definitely say Syntakt over Analog 4. 1 or 2. Either one doesn't matter. It's just the Analog 4 is a really great sounding device, and I think it really shines as a polysynth. Like, it's a multi-timbral instrument, and that's awesome. But if you're not taking advantage of the individual apps, the quick perform mode, and the polyphonic aspect of it, it just doesn't do as much as the Syntakt does for your music. I don't know how else to put it. It has like, you know, it has more sound design than the Syntakt does in terms of like actual synthesis methods. More filtering on the analog side of things, being that there's dual analog filters instead of on the Syntakt. We have the one, except for the effects track. You know, it has an older reverb an older delay compared to what we have in the Syntakt. I just, and there's a way less tracks. Technically the Syntakt is more polyphonic. The Syntakt has, 12 tracks of audio. We have 4 on the Analog 4. I think it's a bit dated, in my opinion, and needs a refresh. I don't want to see a Mark III Analog 4. I want to see Analog 4 2. That's what I want. I want 8 voices. I want a key bed. Basically, I want analog keys too. That's what I want. I don't care about the Analog 4 as much as I care about the analog keys. The analog keys is that I've almost picked up an analog keys so many different times because I want a keyboard to program. Like, I want to use the keyboard to program notes in my sequences because I can hear the note on the keypad. You know what I mean? Like, I can make that association with what I see on the keyboard. Like, I know to go up 2 semitones, I can naturally find it. Even if I'm not a great keyboard player, I just know that stuff from practicing on a keyboard so much. So it's a little bit more difficult on these weird layouts for keyboards. This I'm listening and saying, oh, I like that note. Lock that note. On a keyboard, I can actually put it in. So the Analog 4 is similar in that aspect, though it does have something that more resembles a keyboard. It's still not quite there. So I like the analog keys, even though that's not your question. 16 voice Analog 4. Although we can take a small break, and I would like to know, before I do my sponsorship for DistroKid real quick, what y'all think about Moog Muse? I haven't had a synthesizer come out in a while that has sparked my polyphonic synth desires like the Moog Muse has. I am quite interested in the Moog Muse. Every time I hear a demo of it, I'm like, that sounds awesome. Polyphonic, ladder filters. There's another synthesizer out there that has sparked my interest that I do actually have in the studio right now, and that is the Melbourne Nina, which is a multi-timbral 16 voice or 12 voice polysynth that has ladder filters as well, and it has those rotary those encoders that snap with the drone engines in it. It's cool. It sounds good. I do think that I like the Moog Muse maybe more from the demos I've heard, and also I like that big key bed. I considered, might be sacrilege. I haven't done it and I haven't even tried to do it, but I considered selling my Prophet 5 Rev 4, which is in mint condition, in the corner of my room, which I recently made a sample pack, which you can get your hands on my Patreon or on Coffee. But of that instrument, I considered selling it and get a Moog Muse because I'm like, oh, it's got, you can't modulate the delay yet, but you will be able to eventually, and it just sounds awesome. It's bitimbral, so I can have 2 patches playing at once. Not that I need that. Honestly, probably don't need that. I don't think I need the multi-timbrality on a really large keyboard like that, except for if I was to do split zones on the keyboard. That's not really my thing. I'm not an amazing keys player. I can play a chord progression and do stuff like that. But for me, it's about sound design and programming little lead lines and small sequences that I would maybe sample and then build tracks around, because that's a lot of my workflow with electronic music. Honestly, I still kind of dig the DeepMind. If the DeepMind, Shoheiko says, if the DeepMind didn't feel like it was going to break into pieces every time you put your hands on it, because I have to say, like, it does sound good. The DeepMind sounds just fine. It's got the right components to make a synthesizer, but the build quality on it, sorely lacking. Yeah, Blake, you really want a poly, and the Muse looks super nice. I agree. The Muse does look really nice. I really do like it. Gaia 2 is underrated for sound design. Yes, the Gaia 2 does sound good, and I believe the Gaia 2 uses the Zencore engine, the Roland Zencore, and as good as it sounds, that Zencore engine, I'm just not gonna spend the money on a polysynth that uses the Zencore. I don't know any other way to put it. I'm not a huge fan. I think it sounds kind of generic to me in terms of, like, it sounds good. Like, you could put it in any production. It's going to cut through the mix. That's what Roland sounds do. But it just sounds the same thing that Roland always does. That's kind of been my vibe with it. That's how I feel about the Gaia 2. I do think the Gaia 2 is a good sounding synth, and if you really love Roland sounds, like, go for it. But that's not me. I kind of want that analog goodness. I do think the Udo is a good pick for that. We're on our little tangent on polysynth tangent. I mean, I have favorite polysynths for sure that I've experienced. My Prophet 5 is my favorite. I really like the OB6. I think the OB6 is one of the best sounding polysynths that you can pick up. Another amazing polysynth. Oh, the Novation Peak. Whew. Novation Peak is probably the best sounding FPGA synthesizer that I've played with. I know that the Udo is in that same category, digital with analog filters. So FPGA synthesis, which is very high quality digital synthesis. Basically, as close to analog as you're going to get without actually using analog components to generate a waveform. So really good synthesizer. Yeah, or the Summit. Same, I'd say, with the Summit. But I do think like having a good polysynth is something worth investing in. I've been using my Push 3 as a polysynth as just like a sound design canvas. And we do have some updates, us at Modbang. Our Modbang engineer, Jordan Guzak, designed a Max for Live device that you put on your Push 3, and it is, as of this morning, works, which I'm very excited. We'll do a whole stream on it. We'll talk about it and show it off. As of this morning, you can now move scenes. Your scenes and your patterns on your Electron boxes will match with your Push 3. That's not been done yet. That is a thing now that we have designed. At my request, Jordan made this happen. It took him a really long time to program this. I'm very grateful that he did this for me. Well, for us all, but for me essentially. And now we're going to be able to use the Push 3 like we do an Electron box. That's big. I think that's big news. I think a lot of people are going to use this and they're going to implement it into their Push 3 workflow. Or it's going to entice people to get a Push 3. Because now you can treat it like a Digitakt. You can have a polysynth. Every sound's in there. Anyway, back to you should have a polysynth. That's how I've been using the Push 3 as a polysynth, sampling it into my Digitakt and starting tracks that way. In fact, this track right here, hang on. We have that feedback because I'm doing this loop back experience. So this track, those big sounds, not the piano sound here, just these. You can hear it building up. This is made from a polysynth. That's the Push 3 being sampled into the Digitakt. And I think that's, it's very effective at doing stuff like that. So I think without having if you really like making jungle, drum and bass, you should get a polysynth. You should have a nice polysynth, I think. I think it's worth your money. And I think you'll use it a lot. A lot of people just pick up like an OP1, but for $2,000, you could get something a lot more substantial for sound design than an OP1 field. In fact, my OP1 field is supposed to be back from repair today for the third time. I've had two of them now. One of them had to be completely sent in and replaced with a brand new OP1 field. And now the second one has gone back to Sweden twice. I'm getting a little bitter towards Teenage Engineering at this point because that thing cost a lot. And I worked at a synth shop at the time that I bought it, which meant that I get it at a substantial synth discount, and it was still an incredible amount of money. It's just frustrating. You really enjoy your Take 5? Hell yeah. Take 5 is awesome. Mini Freak is really nice. Oh, that's a really good point. Really good point. Mini Freak is another really good investment for a polysynth. In fact, I'd say if you really want to have something for making like, drum and bass and jungle and stuff, and you want to get some like huge pads and stuff like that, Mini Freak's design is pretty unique. It's all about effects, which is something that resonates with me. It's smaller, very affordable, polyphonic, analog filter with digital oscillators. It sounds fantastic. It's a big recommendation from me, despite me not actually owning one. I do have a Micro Freak, which I love too, and it sounds really great. But no Mini Freak. What's up, Paunchy? Damn, no way. OP1 field has been great so far. Yeah. I don't know. I don't take it anywhere. Like, it just sits in my studio. I just have bad luck. Like, I'm cursed. So don't quote me on my upsetness or how upset I've been with Teenage Engineering. I just really seriously have bad luck. I often get machines that just don't work. And I'm like really good at troubleshooting them. But I often get machines that don't work. It's just been what's happened to me. I don't know. really don't know. Okay, so I do want to revisit and just... EZBOT talking live about synths is just as nice as EZBOT making live music. Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. My God, how many times do I have to push the skip ads button? You know, I really do want your ad revenue, but holy Lord. YouTube is really trying to get you guys to watch some ads right now. Well, I really do love synthesizers. I do. Like, I'm kind of obsessive about them. But the thing about the way that I love synthesizers, the way that I love hardware, all of it has to do with it. It has to like really scratch an itch very specifically. That's the best way I could put it. It really has to do something special for me that I can't do somewhere else. Like, for instance, the Lyra 8. I probably would have sold the Lyra 8 by now if there wasn't really anything else that does what the Lyra 8 does. And the Lyra 8 just scratches a very special itch for me in terms of music production. The Lyra 8 is something that I can just walk up to and start turning knobs and just get this like lucky experience where I'm like, oh my God, that's huge. Or like that drone sounds insane. And if you start pairing it with other effects, you can make it even bigger, right? And you can make it really wide because it is a monosynth. But there's just the experience of it, the build quality, the like the art, the aesthetic of it, all of that stuff is like, it's all checking boxes for me. So if like a synthesizer doesn't check all the boxes for me, I don't want to own a bunch of them. I don't like having a bunch of gear in my studio that I don't use. I don't mind it. There's lots of gear in my studio I don't use. I can't use that all at the same time. But if I don't use it like even once every 6 months, then I start having, you know, I'm like, I could turn that into another piece of hardware that I use more often. That's really what goes through my head. It's not like I have this like anti-collect synthesizers thing. It's just that I'm limited with my funds. I don't have enough money to just have as much stuff as I want to have. So I have to turn other pieces of gear into new pieces of gear. And that happens for me pretty often, you know? I just don't have that much money. That's really what it comes down to. I would like to have more money. I try to make more of it so that I can buy more synthesizers. But for now, I trade gear and I buy new gear only when it's a necessity. And so things have to tick a box for me for it to hit the necessity level. You know what I mean? I think that's fair. I will never have it, but someday I will make a AAA movie. I'm a score on the third wave with a Digitone. That sounds awesome. The third wave's another really great one. Very expensive. Digitone, fantastic. Speaking of Digitone, which hasn't been up here in a while, I have almost brought it back. I'm still waiting to see if Syntone becomes a thing in the next, like, I don't know when. Next year or two. But been seeing Digitone at some live shows lately, and oh my God, did that give me Digitone envy and make me want to have my Digitone back here. I don't think it can replace my Syntakt, to be honest, because the sounds that I get from the Syntakt, like back to this one initial track that we were talking about, you know. Huge fat bass, Syntakt. And while the Digitone can do it, because it has a chorus as well, which makes things really wide, it just doesn't do these fat sawtooth waves like the Syntakt can. So I'm just in love with what I can do with my Syntakt because it just gives me these basic synth engines that I really resonate with. And I just want a fat sawtooth wave. So like this Swarm engine has sub oscillators on it. It has overdrive. It has detune. I use this engine constantly because it's like my vibe, you know? It really is. I use sawtooth waves and square waves a lot. And then I'll use triangles for like piano plucky sounds or electric piano sounds, I mean. And like that's mostly what I do. Like that's, and when I'm go over to like my Prophet, those are the sounds that I play too. Like really basic synth sounds still grab my attention the most. Digatone is so lovely. I agree. I love the Digatone. All right, hang with me. I'm going to quickly do, we're going to quickly do our sponsorship with DistroKid. So don't go. It's only going to be about, you know, less than a minute long. Let's jump over to it really quick. We're going to skip this ad coming up. It's trying to do an ad again. Oh my God, it's always trying to do ads. All right, this stream, of course, sponsored by DistroKid. Thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring these streams. Really helpful to me. It makes it so I can keep doing these streams. All right, let's check it out. So the thing we're going to talk about today really quick with DistroKid, which I thought was kind of cool. I've actually always wondered about this. How do folks put these backgrounds on their tracks on Spotify? Well, DistroKid helps you with that. So like, for instance, if I want to like put one of these look at these, you know, these are stock backgrounds. There's nothing special going on here. But if it was, you know, my music was playing and this had, you know, text saying EZBOT, stay up, track, whatever. So I typed in Underwater Explorer. We can try just underwater. So, oh, here we go. Well, it's trying its best. So there's this new generator. This is in DistroKid. So you can actually, your songs that you've already uploaded to DistroKid, you can go in and use all these stock images they give you access to as part of your subscription plan. And you can find these moments in these videos and be like, all right, cool, let's clip this video. And then they're going to turn it into a canvas to play underneath. Lets me download it. It says DistroKid. I didn't realize they put that in there. That's cool. I don't care because that's the people who is putting my music out to different streaming platforms. So I appreciate it. I don't really care if it says DistroKid. But you can type in anything digital. Look at these goofy things. You could really cringe everybody out with your goofy late 90s, early 2000s Matrix look on your, you know, Spotify or whatever. But it's royalty free, so you don't have to worry about it. There's so many visuals to choose from here. And this is a new thing that DistroKid is offering. I had not seen this before. Maybe it's not that new, but it's new to me. And I wanted to show it off today instead of just talking about DistroKid. But before I end my little DistroKid spiel, I'll just tell you what DistroKid is. DistroKid is a platform for getting your music out to every streaming platform. You can do splits where you can collaborate with other artists and everybody gets paid through DistroKid, so you don't have to worry about that. I find it extremely useful. We've done it a bunch. I've hosted a bunch of compilations from my Discord using DistroKid. It's not too much work. It's a lot of fun. Hey, look, we didn't lose all of our viewers during our ad. Isn't that fantastic? Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. We're back to Electron Talk. So what we did earlier was we did our resample. We were talking about, you know, how many patterns makes up a song. And as you've seen, most of my songs are about 1 to 6 patterns long. And we were trying to make this resample pattern using this new resample method, which uses the cue outputs from the Ocatatrack. We use the performance template. Again, this is the remixer performance template. You can do this with Performance Mixer 3.0 as well. So it doesn't have to be the remixer template that does this. What's unique about the remixer template is it doesn't have a live looper. What it does is it has a remix looper. So if I'm like, let's go this better. If I go hit yes. Well, let's see. Do I have one? Oh, I deleted the trigger. Okay. It's sampling. Track 7. Yes. Wait, do I have Q? Let's make sure I don't have Q mutes track turned on. Okay, no, I don't. Okay. Okay. Arming my track. Do a little resampling here. A little sampling of the Syntakt. Hang on a second here. This. Oh, what the heck? No wonder it's not working. That's what I want. Okay, here we go. I want to know, what have I done? What have I done? This is my personal template that I'm working on. Wait a second. Which template am I in? Which project am I on? Let's just bring this up really quick. Why is it so quiet? Right. And I have it queued. Let's see something. Okay. Go here and make that be. Right. Okay. So I guess I want to unqueue that? That doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, wait a second. I realized that that wasn't up all the way. Okay, here we go. Back down here. I gotta say, I don't really understand why when I have it queued, it doesn't want to sample itself. I don't have Q mutes track turned on. So it doesn't really make sense. That will make a difference, but What? Oh. Right. I made this scene. Check this scene out. It's scene 15. This is one of my performance effects, and I've actually used this scene at shows now because it is really fun. We'll do it with a bigger part. Like, we'll do it here. There's a 4-bar version and an 8-bar version, depending on what template you use. This is a performance effect that... It's cool. Oops. Gotta be in 4. Check it out, we'll do it again. We'll let it play for a second and I'll do it. Just because it's cool. Cue up the next pattern. I think it's got some nice energy to it. What was that rate scene on the fader? What? Rate scene? I don't know what you mean by rate scene. But I am curious. I do have to leave, but wanted to make sure I didn't miss the ad, so you still get paid. Thank you, Evil Jamar. You are an angel. Absolutely appreciate you. Hey, Rustic's here. What's up, Rustic? Good to have you, dude. How do you do the slowdown? Oh, you want to know how I did the slowdown? Oh, it's actually kind of complex. I have a whole video tutorial on how to build the slowdown. The difference between just the slowdown. So there's 2 versions of it, right? Let's do it. So we have a... So the slowdown happens on a freeze delay. So I have freeze delays. These templates I've been making for the Ocatatrack over the years, they used to be quite simple. They just had a couple of like interesting effects that I had designed. Now, I feel like I've really fleshed out a workflow for it to get the most out of the Ocatatrack. And now I have a whole way that I do things on it. Like I have a method to my madness that I repeat when I start new templates because I know the way to get the most effects out of certain configurations. So it starts on track 1 and track 5 are both the same thing. It's dual buses. Over here we have a freeze delay. And if you know how to make a freeze delay, so you just go to a delay, double press effects, you turn lock on. I always turn tape off on the freeze delays because the tape makes it go whip, 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 whip. Sounds like shit. Just avoid it, in my opinion. This one has ping pong turned on. There's no width adjustment on the Ocatatrack like there is on the Digitakt and Syntakt for your delay. There's just a ping pong. So it's hard left, hard right. You know, whatever. Works for us on the Ocatatrack. You turn lock on, you just make sure that the send is above 0. I like to keep the send at 127, so think of it like this way. This is send 0. Or this is 0 to 127. Just don't think about the delay here. Just think about your crossfader is a macro, and this represents 0, and this represents 127. Invert that idea here. For the freeze delay to actually grab the audio and start its freezing to like grab the delay, it has to be at 0. So this is actually 127. So we're going from 127 and the actual end of the fader, bam, slam the end. So we go whack. We can actually feel when we've hit our freezing buffer, which is nice. I love the tactile aspect of it. I can feel that I hit it. So when I hit this, that is 0. So you can see it brings it to 0. And the freeze delay settings are 24, 127, 127. I have a little bit of filtering on it so that it sounds nice and doesn't get too fat and gross. But the actual the part that makes it go whap, 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 and actually do the tape stop effect is in the LFO. So it's right here. Parameter, delay time, an upward ramp, 1x multiplier, a free running trig with the speed value at 32. That's it. And then you turn the actual depth, or the speeds at 32, depth at 10, and that'll give you a tape stop effect with your Ocatatrack. That's actually the whole tutorial. I just did it so fast. It took me a while to actually film stuff like that back when I was making tutorials like the tape stop effect. So yeah, it's cool. And there's a whole bunch of different variations you can do with it. I actually have an effect I haven't released yet for the Ocatatrack, like a tutorial on how to do it. It's an auto glitch, and it sounds really good. I'm having trouble remembering how I did it, which means I have to like rethink the process through. But it literally just like you switch to a scene and it just starts grabbing random moments of your audio and just going and just like they're different widths at how much it delays and freezes and repeats. So it's just like this constantly happening, and you can have it on both buses. So you can have it do it to your drums at a different random speed than your melodic bus. And it's so cool. It sounds really great, like on guitars too. So like if you just want to process stuff and then sample it, it's a really cool workflow. You know, like I said, I haven't released it yet. So who knows when I will, because I'm slow. I'm very slow. So the things I wanted to talk about, let's just get back to the topic at hand, which is how many songs makes a song. We kind of discussed that already over the hour. And then we did the resample method. I want to revisit the resample method so everybody understands how this functions and why you'd want to do this. So what you do if you're an Ocatatrack performance template user, or if you just own an Ocatatrack and you want to do this idea, you're going to need something like an Ocatatrack or a mixer to do this. You need a mixer. It doesn't have to be an Ocatatrack. But if you want to, if you have multiple devices and you want to resample stuff, including your Digitakt, back into your Digitakt, because it's in stereo, so now we can do that. You can do like a classic Ableton Bitwig style resample. You need a mixer of some sort. So you send it all in here, and then you turn on your mixer in your Digitakt, and you set the input left and right at its lowest volume so it's muted, and it will resample regardless. If the input is selected on the input left and right, you can see the Digitakt, it still hears it despite you not being able to hear it. So we're not monitoring through the Digitakt, we're monitoring through we're just monitoring our master mix, and it resamples on its own. And you just hold Q on the Ocatatrack. If you're using my performance templates, if you're using the remixer template, you hold Q and you select these and send it out the Q bus into your Digitakt, and you can resample your entire mix And I think that's really cool because you can do like weird stuff. Like we could find a scene or a filter or something. Like we could use this as the bed of a track. This is a performance effect. Vote Utopia. You did. You made it to a live stream. Welcome. Well, we've covered everything I wanted to cover. I've been working on this song. I worked on it all night last night, and I feel very pleased with it. So I don't know if there's really too much more that I need to do. The kind of stuff that I like to do when I'm working on a song, and one of the reasons why I love this aspect of like working in the Electron boxes is that you get to return to your songs and work on them further, as opposed to like working in a modular workflow. I started on Electron and modular about the same time, so I was kind of like, I was influenced deeply by both. I feel like the Ocatatrack has got a similar vibe that modular has, but of course you can save your projects and revisit them and continue to work on them. And I love that. I revisit my songs all the time. I revisit my patterns all the time. I download a new sample pack and I'm like, oh my God, I love these new hi-hats or something. And that really does happen to me. Like on the Digitakt II came out, and I had, I love stereo drum samples. I use them all the time. Now that we have stereo on Digitakt, on my Mate and on my computer, and on my Ocatatrack, I would always use stereo drum samples. I love processed drums. I think they're really fun. I think it's really cool. It stands out from the monophonic drum samples, like, you know, a lot. And it makes your music sound really polished, having stereo drum samples, I think, in like a live setting. There's something about it. It just sounds like you're playing something, I don't know, just it really does emphasize the polish of your music. And so as soon as the Digitakt II came out, I downloaded all these like hi-hat packs and cymbal packs and drum packs, not kicks, but snares and claps, hats, cymbals, other perks. And I brought them into my Digitakt II, and then I replaced all the hats on like all my projects with these new hats that I had bought off of LoopCloud. Which does LoopCloud work on Digitakt II yet? I honestly haven't tried it. I just saved it all to a folder and copied it over, but if it actually does work on LoopCloud, that'd be good. Is that Halva? Is that Halva that I know in the chat right now? I think so. Aaron Halva? I haven't seen you in a chat in a long time. Another great graphics designer. I know all these great graphic designers now, which is awesome. So helpful for me because I am not a great graphics designer. Yeah, the stereo drum samples is just so useful. No LoopCloud support on Digitakt II. Buy Electrona Sounds instead. Well, I don't think that's a bad idea. As I mentioned before, Electrona Sounds, Dean from Electrona Sounds makes some really great samples. And in fact, Dean, that is where I got so many of my stereo drum samples, was from one of your sample packs. I forget what it's called. I have it on my Mate. But oh my God, I use it all the time. It is really good. I don't use any of the synth samples, but that's just because I really like making them myself. But they're really good. The ones you have on there sound fantastic, but there's just something... I like want to make use of my actual synthesizer, so I don't use them as much. But the drum samples are top notch for sure. 7-pack discount bundle for Digitakt II. So that is a shameless plug. You should be ashamed of yourself, Dean. I hope that you feel shame. We'll counsel you on it later for a price. For a deep price. Cool. Well, we've been doing this for about an hour and a half. Something I do want to bring out, or I want to talk about really quick, while folks are here, because this is really cool. And this took me a really long time to get made and come up with these ideas, and it has to do with these magnets right here. So you may not be able to see it, but I have a I have this. This is the one everybody's buying. I wish I should have made more of them. But this is an LFO speed mult conversion timetable. This will help you understand what actually is happening with your LFOs in the Electron realm. This is for Electron. This timetable tells you what is happening here. with this speed and multiplier right here. This will tell you in whole notes, and each one of these whole notes is 16 steps on the sequencer. So for instance, if you wanted, I think we'd go 8 at 16, multiplier at 8, speed at 16 would tell us that a LFO would cycle one cycle through an entire pattern. So that would bring us all the way through. So this is what this will help you do. This will help you find LFO points and like allow you to use ramps and different kinds of modulation. This little thing goes right here. It's a magnet. It can go anywhere. You can put it here. Right? It's cool. So this is like a reference for you when you're writing your music. Then we made this. These use dry erase markers. As you can see, I can literally wipe it off. Right here is all it says now. You can write on these anytime you want. No longer do you have to use tape. You just get a dry erase marker and right on there. And this goes also on your Ocatatrack, Digitakt, Syntakt, Digiton, Rhythm Mark 1 or Analog 4 Mark 1 or Analog Heat, and they go in the front like this. And so you can have your notes for your shows and write them here. Pattern 1 is this, song 1 is this, don't forget to do this, open project 2, all that kind of stuff, really useful. I used tape before and put it all over and it leaves all these nasty tape marks on my boxes. That's why I designed these. This was made in collaboration with Blake, who's in the chat right now. He's the graphic designer who made the graphics for me, and then I had them manufactured with this fantastic company. It took a really long time, but they're available right now at modbang.com, which is my music store that I built while I was in college, and sell some interesting products like stands and stuff for Electron and these cables. So I have that in white, but I also have this one, and I think that this one is going to be really useful. This is a limited edition one. I don't know if I'm going to keep making this, but these are cool. They go on top. They even have cutouts for the screws. And this is like where you write really important notes that need to be seen. These ones you kind of look at and go like, okay, as a reference, you're playing a show. This one is like, do not forget, do the thing. You know what I mean? Like for me, it would be like, don't forget to do your sponsorship or something. But they're really useful and they fit perfectly on all of the Diggy size boxes, and they don't look bad either. I think they were designed nicely. They still say left and right, in, out, MIDI, in. They still say all the stuff that you need them to say. So check them out. There's a link in the stream description for you to check that out and pick them up before they're gone, because people are snagging them, which is, I'm so grateful to find that out, that people do like these kinds of things. So I'm going to keep designing stuff like this that is helpful for us to perform live. But yeah, pick them up before they're gone, because when they're gone, they take a long time before they're back. Let's put it that way. It's not a quick turnaround for me to get more. So yeah, take advantage of it being available right now. Really nice to have everybody pop by here. Great discussion. Really cool topic that we're going to continue to visit. How many songs? What is a song in the electronic hardware experience? And then this cool resampling technique. Those were the two topics I wanted to explore on our live stream today. We, of course, will come back to this because we have to. It's a iterative and evolving concept, what a song is and how to use hardware, electronic music, gear for songwriting. That's a whole nother topic. You know, it's just the topic is so deep. Anyhow, I just mean to say we're not done talking about it, and we'll be back. My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT. Let's take a look at some shows real quick. These are coming up right now. All right, we got 2 shows coming up this month. I'm playing. These are the shows I'm playing. I'm not just putting out random shows. So these are shows. This one's in Portland. Come down, check it out. It's at Hollow Scene on the 21st. $20 show. It's at 7 p.m. As you can see, there's some dope artists playing. Come on down to Portland. Now, the other show that I'm playing directly afterwards, basically 2 days later, here in Seattle at Substation is Wavefest. This is a night of chiptune hardware and dance music. I guess I'm the dance music part of the show. because I think everybody else who's playing is a chiptune artist, from what I understand. Or maybe I'm wrong about that. In fact, I shouldn't say that because I don't know. But a lot of chiptune artists, like Trash 80, who made the M8. So this is like pretty much going to be an M8 show. I'm going to play a couple of tracks off of the M8 and then a couple tracks off of my Electron hardware for a total of 30 to 45 minute sets a piece. So I'll do my best to try and hit like 45 minutes. Come on down. It says Substation 823, $20 once again, 21 and up at 7 p.m. Just like the other show. Cool. Hope to see you at the shows. My name's Matthew. Come on back for another stream, maybe this Friday or next Tuesday. Definitely next Tuesday, if not also this Friday. I'll see you guys later.